Hello, my dear friends. Welcome to ZenPod once again. In the studios today, we have the Padma Bhushan awardee, Sangeeta Kalanidhi and Kalaimamani recipient, Dr. Sudha Raghunathan. A disciple of the legendary Padma Bhushan awardee, Dr. M.L. Vasantakumari, Sudha has evolved a style of her own where the soul of her music lies in the dynamism of her presentation. Sudha Raghunathan led the largest Carnatic band along with Bharatanatyam and Kuchipudi dancers to acquire a place in the Guinness Book of World Records. Sudhaji has the distinction of being the only Carnatic musician, second to Bharat Ratna M.S. Subbalakshmi, to have sung at the United Nations. Her voice and music echoed in the hall of the UN on International Day of Nonviolence. Louisville, Kentucky in the United States declared May 19, 2019 as Sudha Raghunathan Day in recognition of her service to the field of arts for the past 4 decades. Sudhaji has won more than 100 awards and titles. She is the recipient of the Padma Bhushan. The Music Academy has awarded Sudha the Sangeeta Kalanidhi. The state government's Kalaimamani, Sangeeta Chudamani, Sangeeta Saraswati, Sangeeta Visharad, Sangeeta Sampurna are among a few of the many noteworthy awards that she has won, and not to miss the Lifetime Achievement Awards as well. Sudha has enthralled packed audiences at the international music festivals and concerts held in the United States, Canada, UK, South Africa, Australia, New Zealand, countries of South Asia, the Middle East, France, Netherlands, Sweden, Belgium, and Sri Lanka. Her Sudharnava Academy for Musical Excellence was launched in 2017 with the objective of training senior level students and nurturing talent to produce high class performers. Religious institutions such as the Sri Kanchi Kamakoti Peedam, the Ahobila Mutt, Sringeri Sharada Peedam, Sri Rangam Srimad Andavan Ashram, and Sri Narayani Peedam have recognized Sudha as a stalwart musician and awarded her with the title of Asthana Vidwan. Away from the mainstream, fusion and film music are also an important part of Sudha's repertoire. Teaming with jazz wizard Amit Heri, she has toured the United States. Having sung some very popular numbers in Tamil and Malayalam films, Sudha is currently into composing music for 2 Tamil films. Sudha Raghunathan has walked the ramp as ambassador for the Parampara Pattu, a customized brand of silk saris. During the lockdown 2020, Sudha has conceptualized Expressions Espresso, a chat show with leading personalities which was very widely received. Sudha has always believed in giving back to society, and this has made her launch Samudaya Foundation early in 1999, of which she is the founder and managing trustee even today. The foundation has so far disbursed funds to the tune of over 50 million rupees for various causes, focusing primarily on children, pediatric cancer care, heart surgeries, mentally challenged destitute children, abused children, the deaf-blind children, and towards palliative care. Under the project Anugraha, Sudha has helped musicians who have lost their livelihood because of the pandemic by giving them a monthly sustenance amount for a period of 3 months. Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, and my dear friends, please join me in welcoming Sudha Raghunathan to ZenPod. My dear friends, welcome to ZenPod once again. I have an absolutely unbelievable, illuminating personality in the studios today, Miss Sudha Raghunathan. Who doesn't know her? Her voice has traveled all over the world. She's somebody I believe touches people with her music, and I know she calls it the inclusive music. Sudhaji starts off this podcast with a snippet of her beautiful song, after which we jump straight into the conversation.
கானமழை பொழிகின்றான் கண்ணன் கானமழை பொழிகின்றான் கண்ணன் கானமழை பொழிகின்றான் கண்ணன் யமுனா தீரத்தில் யாதவ குலம் செழிக்க கானமழை பொழிகின்றான் கண்ணன் யமுனா தீரத்தில் யாதவ குலம் செழிக்க கானமழை பொழிகின்றான் கண்ணன் யமுனா தீரத்தில் யாதவ குலம் செழிக்க கானமழை பொழிகின்றான்.
Sudhaji, welcome.
Thank you. It's my pleasure, really.
Thank you. Thank you. Sudhaji, my trademark question to start with, your definition and view on spirituality.
That's a tricky one because spirituality can be interpreted in so many different ways. I guess since you've asked me the question, I have to tell you how I think and what I think of spirituality.
Okay.
Spirituality is, in my opinion, my surrender to a power that I feel encompasses the universe, that orchestrates everything that happens within the universe, in the world,
Okay.
in lives of people. To me personally, it opens the path where I get to know who I am, where I am heading, what are my goals, where did I come from, what have I done thus far, what I might do from this moment.
Okay.
It in a way highlights, or rather throws light on the core me, what the innermost self of me reflects. In my case, I would connect that immediately to the music that I sing and represent. Being Carnatic music, I'm sure you understand that just being a Carnatic music singer gives you the feeling of being closer to the Almighty.
Yes.
So I guess I've answered your question, though not elaborately, succinctly.
Yeah, and you use some very powerful words there, which is fantastic. So which brings me to the other related question that I have for you, Sudhaji, which is, at what point do actually music and spirituality intersect? And what would really be interesting for the listeners also to know is, have you experienced it?
Instead of using the word intersect, I would say interweave, because
Awesome.
I feel, because to me, I mean, I can only say it to me as a subjective way, as in a subjective way. Music cannot happen without spirituality. It's always there. It's a foundation that we build the edifice of what we sing on. If that foundation is lacking, I feel that the music will be powerless, that it would be insipid, that it would not go from you and touch so many souls.
Interesting.
So unless I feel and experience the spiritual in my music, you can call it whatever: bhakti, devotion, discipline, commitment, integration, the emotive experience, the emotional content, whatever you might call it. The final aspect is that unless I feel I'm spiritually connected in my music, with my music, I will be powerless to connect to the thousands who listen to me.
Wow. Beautiful. Beautiful. And have you experienced that you've been performing everywhere, Sudhaji? Has it happened to you where it suddenly occurred to you that, wow, I'm in a different zone, or has that happened?
It does happen several times. I wouldn't say it happens in every concert. Truthfully, not.
Right.
Every concert is more like a ritual because you do it so often, and it's more a kind of you want to be perfect. You want to get the grammar right. You want the swarasthanam to be right. You want to deliver the entertainment aspect in your music.
Correct.
Everything is there, but beyond this, somewhere when you start singing in some particular concerts, I don't know whether to connect that to the environment or to the audience or to what you are singing or in the state that I am in.
Interesting.
I somewhere lose sense of just everything, where I am, who I'm singing to, who are with me, what I'm singing.
Wow.
There is that feeling of being oblivious to just everything.
Wow.
All that happens is that you are a source of energy that is putting out something that is coming from somewhere else. You're just the medium. that's how you feel. It's not me really singing. It's coming from somewhere, and through me, it is going to some other place. The destination is some other point.
True.
So that's how I felt in some concerts, definitely. And they have been very defining moments, because at the end of that particular concert, you're so kind of lost in thought and in introspection that you can't even interact with the audience who come backstage to talk to you.
Correct.
Sometimes they even ask me the question, you seem so lost. You seem to be in a trance. It's neither of these. It's just that you still have not gotten over the fact that, you experience something which cannot be put out in words to people.
True. Awesome. That must be quite a feeling, isn't it? It's
Absolutely. Yeah, it's like, it gives you goosebumps. It gives you a very different high that nothing else in the world can give you.
yeah, divine. Absolutely. Okay, I want to talk about one of your latest projects, and probably a very inspiring project. And when you put this out the first time, and I said, wow, this is Sudha Raghunathan Vino doing this, and I'm so impressed. So Expressions Espresso, absolutely fantastic concept. And please tell the listeners and me all about this. And we love it so much. So
Thank you, first of all, for acknowledging the fact that Expressions Espresso means something to you.
absolutely.
Yeah. See, when the lockdown happened, the very first time, I had a few Facebook live sessions, and interacted with the audience in a different way. I asked them to sing along with me, to repeat mantras after me, to kind of, I wouldn't say motivate, but gave out the feeling that, this is part of life. Don't think that this is going to be the end. We will overcome this phase too in a short while.
Beautiful.
Little did I know then that it was going to be a long phase.
Okay.
No, we thought it was going to be 3 months, 4 months, and then the graph would kind of start its decline, and then we'd all get back to normal, though we call it a new normal.
Correct.
We would definitely get back to normalcy. Little did I realize that it was not that easy a solution that was going to be.
Yeah.
The realization, I think, was more evident in the second phase of lockdown, which was announced on April 14th.
Right.
And then subsequently, there were going to be lockdowns, I realized, because this was a larger pandemic than what anyone could imagine.
Really. Agree.
What even a 90-year-old, even a 10-year-old, even a 30-year-old, or a 50-year-old, or a 60-year-old. I mean, this is something that we have not experienced or seen thus far in our lives, whatever stage of your life you might be in. So then I realized that if this was going to be a long drawn period of kind of a sabbatical, where, your hands and legs are tied, you're supposed to be at home, you're supposed to be disciplined, responsible, and you need to kind of, push in some energy to yourself, then I realized that there were so many out there who might get into a state of, kind of a depression, or lack of self-esteem, or the lack of the confidence that one requires to face such difficult times. I must say that I thank the Almighty for giving me the strength, the courage, the faith, the hope, the trust, the belief that I could override the situation, and use it for something which was going to be very constructive and productive.
Correct.
So I was not just going to be sitting there and enjoying this lean period in the profession, watching movies, sleeping, lazing around, picking up the phone and talking endlessly to your friends. It was going to be that, but it was going to go somewhere beyond all of that. I had to do something meaningful. And I also realized that this was maybe the time when I could give back meaningfully to the people who had, in all these years, kind of acknowledged my music and brought me to a point where I stand so tall today.
Wow.
When I say so tall, it doesn't mean the stature. It doesn't definitely mean a number one position or number two position. I'm not giving any numbers. I'm not even saying that, I'm in the front line. And I don't want to use any word because any word that I use will dilute the feeling of gratitude that I have towards my rasikas or the audience or well-wishers.
Absolutely.
This was only unless and until a singer is accepted by the public, by the audience,
Right.
and they start to give you that feeling of, yes, you're on the right path, you're doing the right things, we love your music, we love you, we love the music that comes through you. That itself is so much of wealth that I have cumulatively acquired over the period of time that I've been singing. So if I say that that is the best wealth that I have accumulated today, I wouldn't in any little way be not adding that value to it.
Okay.
I am thinking more than the value that they gave me. I think, where would I have been if all these people would not have said, yes, Sudha, we love your music and we love you.
Wow.
So what is the only way? There is only one way that you can give back to all of them, of course, with your gratitude. And gratitude is just not expressed through words. There is an action that explains itself when you do it.
Correct.
So when you give happiness to them, when you give yourself selflessly, without expecting anything, unconditional giving, I call that unconditional giving. I'm not going to invite all of them to say, watch this Expressions Espresso, I'm going to do this. This is all the homework that I do. This is the groundwork that I do. You have to understand that I'm the only person handling it. I just have a small team of 1 or 2 people with me.
Yeah.
I'm doing all the tech work. No, it's nothing about the I. It's just completely egoless. I want to do something for you. I want to give you a package, a gift package that holds something valuable, that throws light on the life of people who have achieved so much in their lives. And surely every personality, every celebrity or guest would have something for us to take away.
Yeah.
Everyone began, kind of at the bottom of the hill, and today they stand on some peak.
Absolutely.
And if they have walked so many miles in their journey,
Yes.
they could not have done it but for the fact that they developed some formulae for that journey. Each equation is different, but definitely at the end of all the equations, there is one little formula that we can all arrive at, and that is humility, dedication, discipline, hard work, the never give up attitude, the belief in yourself that you can do it, the guts and the courage to overcome any challenge that might have come in that journey. All of this put together is the inference that one can arrive at when you break down the theorem of their success. So I started with maybe I will do 10 episodes and let's see how it goes, because I should be able to do it. I've never done this thing before, but for once when I interacted with 4 or 5 celebrities. So it was going to be difficult, I knew, because the tech aspect, I was a novice. I was naive about how even to handle these different interfaces. And also the fact that, it required the content, the right questions, and I had to reach out to these celebrities,
Correct.
Convince them that, they were going to be on a different kind of a show and not a regular question answer session. It was going to be more of a conversation.
Right.
To bring out another side of them.
Yes.
A different dimension of them. And it was going to be fun all the way. I had to convince that. Yeah.
Yes.
And I wouldn't pick up the phone and talk to all these guests. I would always seek their permission to
Nice.
write to them or to message them and I maintained all that protocol, being polite, not trespassing into their space
Nice.
or territory unwantedly. And to tell you the truth, out of the 23 that I have spoken with or interacted with,
Mhm.
I really knew only 10 of them. The other 13 were completely new to me.
Oh, really? Wow.
Yes.
Oh, I didn't know that. Ah.
So it was a kind of an arduous task to, kind of break those, can we say, barriers of unfamiliarity and all of that. And after 10, which we called the season 1, then I said, okay, there was so much response, and we had touched so many thousand views, and it was like an acknowledgement. It was like a pat on the back. So I said, okay, anyway, the lockdown is continuing, so let me move to season 2. And of course, then it really took on a high journey, a soaring journey with Chinna Koil Chitra, really being loved by people. And she was just out of the world. I mean, a person of her stature and standing to be like a child,
Yeah.
to be untouched by all that success and accolades was unbelievable. I mean, just unbelievable. So passed by season 2, and then now we are on season 3. And all I've realized is that we've had a good ride. And I take this moment to thank all those thousands of people who have watched it and acknowledged whatever I gave out to them with so much of love and care. Mm-hmm. Of course, there were a few brickbats like, why don't you speak in Tamil? And, why do you have to... why do you have to... But I guess anything that anyone does in life, you always have to face the negative side of comments.
Sure.
You definitely can't please the whole world.
Yes.
Because if I started speaking every conversation in Tamil, then there were going to be people saying, listen, we don't understand Tamil at all.
Yeah.
Why don't you arrive at a common language? And the most common language I thought was English.
Correct.
And people were comfortable talking in English.
Yes.
So thus began the story of Expressions Espresso, and that's how we have progressed.
Brilliant. It's awesome. And I must confess, I did not know or realize that you knew only half of the guests. That was great.
Yes. It's true. I mean, just the fact that they existed and I existed. They knew I existed and I knew they existed. So we just had to make that little contact and then break those little barriers where, we had to convince ourselves that, yes, we can do it.
Yeah. Some of the episodes, and I remember some of them that I really enjoyed and probably saw it maybe half. Second time again was, Vidya Balan was amazing.
Yes.
Zakir Hussain ji was brilliant. What really interested me again, I think, was it the second or the third season? I don't know. You actually brought in Vishwanathan Anand and Indra Nui as well.
That was the second season, I think.
Yeah,
Yes.
that was brilliant. And I said, wow. So you kind of moved beyond music and brought in other personalities, which was very surprising.
Yes. Vishwanath Anand, I never knew. I've never spoken to him. I've not seen him at all.
And he spoke so
I mean,
much.
seen him at all physically, in his physical presence.
Okay.
I've just seen him on Doordarshan or TV or media or pictures.
Awesome. And the name Sudhaji, was it your idea?
Yeah, I just woke up one morning. I said, okay, let's do this. And then my friend said, what do you want to call it? So I said, it's Expressions Espresso. So she said, is that grammatically right? So I said, who cares? It has an EE,
Yes.
which has an enigma about it. And then anyway, people are going to express themselves.
Correct.
And let's make it a conversation which is going to be casual over a cup of coffee like.
Yes.
So the espresso word came in.
Beautiful. I've been dying to ask you this question.
Even my daughter laughed at me. She said, what? Expressions espresso? What does that even mean, Amma? She said. So I said, it doesn't have to mean anything. It conveys a small story to you.
Yeah, correct. If you had said Kapi with Sudha or Coffee with Sudha, it would have been very normal. But this was really out of the blue and beautiful. Uh, your take, Sudhaji, on the so before we move on, congratulations! Really, it's a fantastic program, And I know the first few episodes you even struggled with the tech, with the bandwidth more than
Yes.
technology, I would say.
Yes.
That's obviously
Yeah.
a first
The
struggle.
bandwidth was really was.
Yeah, I know.
It was like, but the dry run would be perfect. But
Yeah.
then when we really got to the show, it would play, Tron. And then I didn't know what was happening. Then we realized that it could be the bandwidth
Yeah,
and
it is.
also the congestion in the network at that point of time, because we were compelled to do it at a certain
Yes.
part of the day
Yeah.
because of viewership.
Hmm.
And it had to be between 6 and 8, some point of time between 6 and 8.
Yeah.
So we had to overcome that. So, as I told you earlier, I think I used the word overcome, override earlier in an answer to one of your questions.
Mhm.
So it was not something which was impossible. I
Right.
could do it. I kept pushing. I kept telling myself, yes, I can do it. I can get to that point where people are going to be happy with how we do it. And I'm going to be happy and proud of how I learned everything from scratch. And today I can probably get into any Zoom call or Zoom meeting or StreamYard meeting. When people, each one has a way of doing the meeting, of having the interview. So it was good that I learned so much during this period that I was able to handle things on my own.
Absolutely. What really impressed me also was that even while all this was happening, and you're practically helpless when these things happen, you didn't lose your mind, or you were not flustered. You were very cool and smiling about this whole thing, and I'm like, wow. And
Yeah, I was always confident that
Yeah.
if everything failed, my music wouldn't. I would always have my music to fill the space.
Absolutely brilliant. On your music, I want your take on the music and the mind.
Music has a lot of effect on the mind, definitely.
Okay.
The mind has to be in good shape to produce good music. You can't be angry and sad and confused and you have a little tug of war at home and then get to a concert and expect to sing flawlessly. The moment, that split second of a distraction in a concert will take you off the rails. It'll either show in your lapse in the talam or in your shruti, or you might forget the next lyric.
Mm-hmm.
It's a very systematic
True.
package that you have, presentation. It's of course layered with several layers of creativity,
Yes.
but the basic, that things that are the ingredients of what you present on stage are raga, tala, compositions, lyrics, and the spirit and emotion with which you render all of this. So for all of it to come into one package, it's important that your mind is very balanced, is in a very neutral state. I would say more than neutral, to be in a happy state. If you're happy, then the music takes on a different degree of expression.
Yeah.
The music really becomes so much more pure, so much more pristine.
True.
And there's an energy that sparkles in it, that I'm looking at it as several layers as I'm talking. And it takes that topmost layer and moves it towards the audience. And that's when you have audience crying. That's when you have audience smiling to themselves with closed eyes. But sometimes you face these moments in concerts at very few points. But definitely, I think every artist does go through these little pockets of, in a way, it's a trance. You are in a state of complete oblivion. You don't care who's next to you. Wow, Vale, bravo. People shout all that.
Yes.
If they realized that there were 10 people around them watching them, they would feel embarrassed to say. But it's the statement comes out even before they realize, oh my God, there are so many in the audience. Should I say it or not?
Yeah, true.
So that spontaneity in their appreciation is enough acknowledgement for the fact that you have expressed your best and taken it across to touch that soul who's sitting to listen to your music.
Beautiful. Yeah,
So the mind is a very, very strong entity in your music. And I've had some days where I've been very disturbed and gone into a concert and just done a matter of fact concert.
Oh, okay.
People outside might say, oh yeah, the concert was so good. You took us to a different point. But I would know. I had only delivered the goods.
Oh, I see. Okay. Interesting.
Only I would know. Only I would know.
Very
And on the days that I've been extremely happy that I've done a good round of meditation at home,
Right.
that, we had some moments where we laughed at home,
Right.
and things have been, kind of moving in the right direction till that 6 o'clock in the evening.
Yeah.
Then that concert is at a different level. It's more elevated, I think.
Correct. I agree.
It's difficult to put all of this in words, however much I try, because that's the reason why I think I start to stutter when I express myself, because it's an experience that you feel.
Absolutely.
You can't translate these into spoken word.
Very true. Very true. Very true. And this is so beautiful what you're saying, because as you're right, as audience, as participants, as people who listen to music, we are actually in a zone sometimes when people like you sing. And this is so true. You're right. And I'm sure it happens to you. I have a related question, which I'll come to later, but you have been, Sudhaji, singing at one of the most, in my opinion, probably the most pristine of all festivals, the Tyagaraja Aradhana Festival, consistently for 3 decades now. What are your impressions?
The first one is that my guru, MLV Amma, used to do it.
Yes.
She used to, whatever be her schedule, however rigorous the December season schedule was, she would take that little time off to go to Thiruvayyaru and sing at the Samadhi. So this was a trait that I imbibed from her.
Beautiful.
And the first few years, I started to tell myself that I have to go. That was the order that I gave myself the first few years. And after those first few years, it was an automatic programming that I had done to myself. Because every time, early part of January, be it early part of January or the Pongal time or the latter half of January, I would be there for the Aradhana celebrations. We call it a celebration more than an Aradhana offering, because we are celebrating Tyagaraja over there. Saint Tyagaraja, if we are celebrating his 100th or 200th or 250th, you can imagine how powerful that composer has been in our lives.
Absolutely.
And today, if every musician in Carnatic music can claim to even be a musician, it is only because we have learned his music, we have learned his sahityam, and we express our music through his lyrics.
Yes. Yes.
Every time you sing Eta Unara or Narada Muni or Yemini Pogodudura,
Yeah.
Rakasa Shivadana. I could just go on and on. Dayarani. Every kriti that Tyagaraja has composed
Yeah.
has a different emotion, has a different total swarupa difference when different artists sing it. Now, Eta Unara is a song that is a composition of Tyagaraja that maybe. So, if I take a kriti which has been sung over decades by yesteryear musicians, today's artists, the future incoming artists will be singing it.
Right. Right.
For example, Eta Unara in Kalyani Ragam. Every time an artist sings it, there is a different interpretation. The artist adds his own personal flavor to it.
Correct.
So too with any kriti of Tyagaraja, for that matter, a composition of any composer. All of us sing probably some of the greatest compositions are sung by every single artist. But yet when each artist sings it, how does it have a different interpretation? Why do we latch on to some being sung by some? When we hear Rangapura Vihara, we want to hear only D.K. Patamal or M.S. Amma.
Yes, correct. True.
Yeah. So when we hear Baro Krishnaya, only M.L.V. Amma.
Correct.
Radha Sameta Krishna, only G.N.D. sir.
Yes.
Ramani Samanamavaru, only Shamangudi sir. You know, when I say only, the heart craves to listen to them singing it.
Very
Not that we dismiss any other artist singing it.
I get you. Yep.
Yeah. So that stamp, that ISI stamp that each one has put into each of these kritis
Beautiful.
is something that needs to be analyzed. How is it that certain compositions are latched on to certain artists?
Correct.
So this bhakti that I, over a period of time, developed towards Tyagaraja was because every concert I realized I was singing so much of, so many Tyagaraja compositions, less of others.
Correct.
And my guru MLV always would say, never try to finish a concert without one kriti of Tyagaraja at least.
Wow, beautiful.
Unless it's a thematic concert where you have to concentrate on what your theme is.
Obviously.
Otherwise, oru Tyagaraja Kirtiyana kandipa irukunu, she would say.
Oh,
So that was the importance that she gave. Yeah.
Nice.
And hence it went again like Expressions Espresso, 3 seasons, 3 decades.
Yes. And that's a long time, by the way. That's a long time.
Yeah.
Beautiful. It's beautiful.
It would be appropriate to listen to the great Kriti Parkadal Alai Mele at this juncture.
தூணிலும் இருப்பார் துரும்பிலும் இருப்பார் தூணிலும் இருப்பார் துரும்பிலும் இருப்பார்.
So when you are, obviously thousands of people come there and all musicians from different walks of life. Do you at all notice the audience when you sing there, Sudhaji?
Of course we notice.
Okay, you do.
just like how in any other concert, we do realize that there are some familiar faces there, and
Okay.
some of our friends, musician friends, are there.
Okay.
And then we have a good time. We have some fun backstage.
Oh,
It's nice getting to know newer people.
Yeah.
Nice catching up with some musicians who you will never see for the rest of the year. It's a lot of things. Yeah. It's a congregation. So we enjoy it. And I enjoy it thoroughly. And I feel this is one of the best things I can do to myself by stepping on the sands of Thiruvayaru at his Tyagaraja Samadhi.
Yeah.
It's like a pilgrimage for me.
Mm-hmm.
And once I go there and sing, I feel I'm energized and rejuvenated.
Awesome.
After the tiring December season, then I'm ready for the rest of the year.
Correct. Margari is really tiring. I know that.
Yeah.
I'm sorry we have to take a break right now, but we will be back next week continuing our conversation with Sudha, where she speaks about how she manages to pack so much in a day, Sudhaji's to-do list, which is her holy grail, her life-defining moment and her eureka moment, how Sudhaji almost became a doctor and how the world would have lost a great musician, her Samudaya Foundation, Sudhaji's inspiration at different times in her life, her Guinness World Book record with saxophone Janardhan for Carnatic music and the intricacies that went into making this happen. Meanwhile, for those of you who would like to support the Samudaya Foundation, you may log on to samudhayafoundation.org or write to them at samudhaaya@gmail.com. Samudhaya with a double A. Till the next episode, stay safe and have fun.